social and cultural values? Well, they are things that we associate with trees, so they might be memories from our childhoods and our pasts, or they might be specific events that have happened which are connected with a particular tree or an area of trees. And they can be very difficult to pin down. So quite often social and cultural values are things which are neglected in decision making, because whereas other environmental values have established systems for measuring and quantifying them, social and cultural values tend to be much more difficult to measure. So what we intend to do is to develop a new framework for identifying and working with social and cultural values, which will be an underpinning for our project. And then the really exciting bit comes in where we actually put that framework into practice and look at how we can use that framework to map social and cultural values and to then use them in decision making.
So when it comes to understanding the mix of trees that we already have across our towns and cities, we actually know surprisingly little. We know very little about the species mix across towns and cities, the age class, the condition they're in, or even the ownership profiles. Well, through this project, we're going to be setting up some urban tree observatories to go out and perform some detailed studies in 6 1-hectare plots for each of those case study locations and get lots of information for each tree.
So one of the techniques we have at our disposal is specialist remote sensing imagery, so that's images flown on planes, and we can use that to give us lots of information about the trees, their health status and other things that we're interested about with them.
We can get additional information from the aerial imaging or the remote sensing data that we get because we have a couple of different types of sensors on board, and these sensors see things that the human eye doesn't necessarily see. In particular, this can help us understand the different characteristics of the tree, the different health status, factors relating, for example, to water content, because we can also see in regions beyond the visible region that our eyes observe.
Well, we're interested in the treescapes of the past because the trees that we see around us today are largely a consequence of the decisions made in the past, whether 10 years ago or 100 years ago. Because one of our key sources are Ordnance Survey first edition maps, which have freestanding trees marked on them. So we're going to develop a machine learning computer vision approach to locate and identify those trees on the maps, and then we're going to take other historic sources and compare them against the OS maps to both verify the results and chart change over time.
We're really interested in stories because stories are carriers of value. They're repositories of our cultural and social values. But more than that, stories are spaces in which we formulate, we negotiate, we test, and then reformulate those values, because just as stories change, our values are always changing. So it's a constantly moving picture. But of course, storytelling is not just about looking backwards. It's a tool to enable us to imagine the futures we want to have. So we're also looking at what might our stories of future treescapes be as well.
In this project, we are engaging people in 2 ways. One is through the citizens and individuals, community groups themselves, and we're calling those citizen panels. And the other involves those who have a real stake in the management of trees. We will actually be doing really focused discussions, sharing and co-creating knowledge between these groups across the 3 different focal cities. The key with all of this is that we're using a range of approaches which incorporate citizen science using the platform Treezilla, as well as narrative storytelling, all to co-create this whole body of knowledge, local user-based knowledge about trees.